Hey, good morning. It's Dr. Michelle Pedicola with another installment of Sunrise Diaries. I'm about to take a vacation. In fact, this is an extra day because we were supposed to be on the road today, but we're not. So I'm doing one more installation, one more session. But I actually have no idea what I'm going to talk about today, except maybe talking about time and habit. So I noticed that one of the things that we're in a habit of doing is always taking one more day than what we expected to leave. Hey, Bruce, good morning. Thank you for joining. So I'm talking about, thank you. I'm talking about vacation time, taking time out and what it does to you. So, of course, some of the things I've noticed is I've been super busy trying to get ready to leave. And the fact that my husband already said I need an extra day gave me extra time to do more work. But do you do that? Do you do like a whole bunch of work before you take off on a vacation? And then when you come back, you have to do a whole bunch more work afterwards? What's that about? Why do we do that? So the other thing I noticed is that my husband and I have been kind of, well, not too bad, actually not too bad this time, but a little bit of irritation. Like he had to get a new cell phone because Verizon no longer offers his old service, and he lost it in the pandemic. He forgot about it and it expired. And they wouldn't take his old Motorola. So he went out and he bought at some auction a couple of iPhones, iPhone 6s and iPhone 5. And then he's been trying to find a plan that works for him because he doesn't want to have a cell phone all the time, and he doesn't want to pay, $40 a month or $80 a month or whatever they're asking for things. So he finally found a plan that was really pretty inexpensive, like maybe $12 a month. Okay, so it doesn't give him a lot of data. It wouldn't work for me, okay? But then he had a whole bunch of trouble getting his phones to work because he was trying to put it on an i5, and I guess they don't accept i5s anymore. So I felt like I was really taking the brunt of this because I think in some ways he blames me for this problem. And I did try and get him my old plan, but Verizon was not having any part of it. Eventually they did give me a refund of the money I had on that plan, which was fine. But, are you really interested in this? The point is the habit. So the other morning I got all irritated at my husband because I couldn't find the voting guide that I had carefully marked what we were going to do in terms of voting on California propositions. And I'm telling you, there are 24 propositions, so I didn't want to do that over again. But it was there, and I was just being irritable. And so what is that about? I think it's a habit. I think it's a little bit of, we're having to leave and trying to remember everything, and so we take it out on each other. Now, we're good. We're totally good. I apologized to him. I was saying, hey, I'm sorry. And he says, why are you taking this out on me? I said, well, give me a break. You jumped on me all about the cell phone. He says, yeah, well, I wasn't directing it at you. I said, yeah, you were. So, it's all good. It's all good. But I wanted to tell you that coming up, I don't know if, Bruce, you're on my mailing list, but you could check out my meetup. Eventually I'm going to be it'll probably be in here somewhere. I'm going to be doing a full 2-hour webinar on having more influence in your life, particularly in your family. How to communicate, how to get what you want without creating arguments. Would that be good? So that's what's coming up, and it's coming up on November 17th. The other thing that's cool is, and I hardly ever do these, I'm going to be doing a half day of, hey, there goes a deer. I'm going to do a half day of face readings. This is looking at your family legacy in your family legacy code in your face and finding out what you have that is strong, where are the weaknesses, what can you work on. And by the way, there are charges for both of these because I'm doing it in coordination with this really amazing bookstore called East West Bookstore down in Mountain View. Now, it's all going to be on Zoom, But this is an opportunity to find out how to have more influence in your life, how to get along in relationships, how to ask for what you want. And also, if you want to find out what's in your face, they're totally reasonable. I don't usually do this, but I do this for East West Bookstore. So keep your eye open for information on that. Maybe before I leave, I will put this in the Share Your Brilliance Trainings Facebook group, and probably in the Secrets of Life and Death Facebook, my business page. So what else was I going to talk about? Oh, the coyote. So last week you may or may not recall that I ran into a coyote like 2 times, and he was howling at night. So I think one time I saw 2 of them. Coyote is, I tried to remember what the meaning, the medicine meaning of coyote was, and then I looked it up, because not only did it appear out in the cemetery, but the coyote showed up also in my dreams. So coyote is both the trickster, coyote also has wisdom, and coyote also is a fool. Fool in the sense of the tarot deck fool, and that is both innocence and this innate brilliance. This that's oftentimes, when we come from the place of the fool, we come from this pure place of spirit that we trust, that we surrender to the flow of the universe. And so that's part of the message of the coyote. How are you taking yourself too seriously? How are you maybe getting too caught up in ego and getting things right? Maybe it's time to step back and allow the natural flow, to allow the inner child to show up. And of course, that's part of the innocence of the fool, is that inner child, that creative source, that creative resource that we all have, that gives us inspiration, gives us really good ideas, helps us to see things in a different way. So you may have remembered that I started these diaries, these sunrise diaries, on focusing on the moment, of paying attention to what's around you, paying attention to what you're experiencing in the here and now. That's certainly what my Sufi teacher was always teaching us, was how to open to the moment, to let the world slow down. And I think that's what vacations are about, is to let the world slow down. So the next time you see me doing a Facebook Live like this, I will be in a pine forest. Very up north. It'll be colder, it'll be crisper, and it'll be very, very isolated. And I'm really looking forward to it. Now that may seem really strange, because we're already isolated, sheltering in place. And yet, I need that break. Oh, look at all the birds. I need that break, that time to go inside. And this is the time for going inside, when Mars is in retrograde. Oh, and Mercury, by the way, is in retrograde too. And that's all an opportunity to go inside and feel what's going on inside of you. What are you not listening to? What do you need to listen to? How can you let go? How can you release? How can you stop trying to control things so much? I think, we brought up, we believe that if we don't control things, that life will fall apart, that we won't be safe. And yet, I think it's the biggest secret of life, is to surrender to the moment, to be in the here and now, to not worry about the future, not to chew over the past, but just be in the present. Be alive, be aware, notice as much as you can of every moment. Hey, thank you for joining. This is Sunrise Diaries, and I'm talking about, I'm about to take a vacation, and I'm talking about being in the moment, taking on that innocence and awakenedness of new eyes, of new self, of allowing information to come in. Now, it's interesting because actually last week, for about 3 days, I spent some time going through my past. An activity that was very eye-opening because I started to look at things in a different way. I don't know if you've ever done that, gone through and looked at various parts of your life, various events, big milestones, big turning points, and asked yourself, what did I learn from that? And it was interesting, and I kept on working on it and chewing on it and working on it and chewing on it, and I was kind of amazed at how much of what I do today with my clients all had its grounding, all had its original source in my life. That my knowledge, my intuition, my sensitivity, all has its foundations in my own life experience. Let me see if I can give you an example. So back, I guess when I was in my 20s, I had my first job. I hadn't quite finished graduate school, but I was still working on my PhD dissertation, but I got my first teaching job. And I went to this small Catholic college up in Minnesota, and I worked really hard. I even became the cross-country coach for the women's cross-country team. I was working like crazy, and boy, I tell you, we didn't make a lot of money back then. It was an amazing, beautiful, remote place on the Mississippi River. Anyway, what happened? What happened was that after a year and a half, they gave the dean sent me a letter saying that they were not going to renew my contract. And I was devastated because I had really tried hard. I had really worked really hard to give them everything they wanted. And what was interesting was that I actually went into a depression. And this is where I got my first understanding of the power of emotions. That emotions, if you tap them down, you know what you get. You get depression. And I was talking about depression last week. This sheltering in place, this not being able to see friends and family, at least in person, to touch them, to experience them physically, there is an emotional loss. In some ways we're all grieving. And maybe we're also grieving what's going on in our nation right now. Grieving what's going on in terms of how life was before and how it is now. And grief is real. It has a physiological component. It has to be released because emotions need to be in motion, energy in motion. And at that time, back when I was teaching at that college, I had the habit of tamping down all my emotions. I did not feel my feelings. I had made the decision when I was 2 years old that I was not going to feel my feelings. Of course, they always broke out from time to time, but I would very quickly tamp them down. And so what I had to do was I had to surrender to this experience. And I actually worked my way out of it. I worked my way out of my depression by doing jigsaw puzzles. Is that bizarre? Every little piece that I would put into that puzzle would give me a little bit of a boost. Isn't that strange? Well, it's actually true that success is based on experience. It's not entirely an inside job. You need to actually give yourself an experience that makes you feel successful. But ultimately what I did, I ran away. I left at the end of the term, I moved to Las Vegas, Nevada, and I did something totally different. And the change of scenery actually helped a lot. Now, I don't recommend this as an ultimate solution to depression, because you at some point have to realize that you cannot escape yourself, that you cannot run away from yourself. And if there's something deep that you need to work on, you need to work on it. But what I've also found is, fortunately, the universe takes care of us. It comes along with other experiences to wake us up to ourselves. So it wasn't more than 10 years later that my husband left me. My first husband, not my current husband. He's still here, he's still good. And you know what? I gotta tell you, I'm grateful that that happened, because I had so much growth and so much opening from that loss. In fact, that's kind of the major milestone in my life, that experience that I compare all my other difficulties to. Because there's nothing quite as disturbing as having a marriage breakup. Somebody that you thought you were going to spend the rest of your life with. And then having to go out and reinvent yourself. So by the way, that's one of the that's part of the work I do, is to help people reinvent themselves after loss or divorce or some other major life experience. And I've been focusing particularly on motivational speakers, because oftentimes they have experienced a major loss and they want to share their message, but they haven't quite figured out how to do that. So if you want to know more about my trainings and you are not on my Facebook group, Share Your Brilliance Trainings, go ahead and click on the link that's in the comments section and join me. Hey Bruce, you're super for watching me. I hope you do come to the webinar. It's going to be in the evening on November 17th at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which probably is some god-awful late hour for you. But there's going to be some really good, hey Barry, good morning for watching. Good morning and thank you for watching. Yeah, so you might want to also come to my webinar that's going to be Tuesday, November 17th at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, because I'm going to be talking about how to have more influence, to be able to influence other people. And where have I gotten this experience? Well, certainly from being in a marriage or a relationship for over 20 years, but also I've gotten the experience from, well, of all places, Toastmasters and stepping into leadership. Because in a volunteer organization, you really have to learn how to influence people. You can't command them, you can't demand, you cannot scream, you cannot, well, I mean, I've known people to do that. Some people use, shame, and other people use blame, and other people use bullying. But I don't recommend it. What you want is to use something, as former President Dwight D. Eisenhower said, influence, or actually leadership, is the art of getting somebody to do something you want them to do because they want to. And I've been developing that skill, so do come to my webinar and join me. Oh, and another thing, I'm offering, I already mentioned this to Bruce, but I'm also going to be doing face readings on one day, and it's not going to be on the 17th. My goodness, I can't do all of that in the same day. It's going to be on November 12th from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I think we'll be on Standard Time by then. And both these events do have a charge, but they're really minimal, because I'm doing this in conjunction with East West Bookstore, and they gotta make their money. So, and you know, it's like, for me, it's an opportunity to attract and reach out to more people. So I gotta go, because I'm getting ready to head off north to have a great retreat. I will show up from time to time, but probably not at 7 o'clock in the morning. It's really super cold at that time of the morning where I'm going to be. But I will show up. So check me out in Share Your Brilliance Trainings. You have an awesome week. Enjoy the autumn. It's really crisp and wonderful this morning. The air is clear, and I'm extremely grateful to have you both on my call this morning. Love to you both. Be brilliant, and bye for now.